today. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. For me, it's a good weekend, so I'm happy about that. Today I did a little bit of cleaning in the house. I threw away some stuff that it could be thrown away, and for the rest, I'll just see how it goes. And today I will be doing a creative session of 60 minutes during this live stream. Wow, words are hard. My apologies. For those who don't know me, my name is Ilse. I am a magic-wielding dragon companion and creator of worlds. And one of the worlds I created is Tergaenae, and I will be writing in that world. And I've been working on the short story or novelette, it all depends on how it turns out, called Go Fly. And it's not going as easy as I'm used to from the past, but I keep making progress. So that's good, that's good. And this story plays about 10 years before the main story will play, so it's a bit of a prequel. And there are the three princes of Dragon City, Nejat and Finlay and Seamys. And I have some other people, some characters from other books that I have ideas for but haven't written yet. They are popping up as well. Well, one was initially not planned but is very handy, and another one was just totally not planned and I didn't expect her to be in this story at all, but she decided to make an appearance. I'll see how that goes, but they are both from the Confectioner series, which is another series that plays partially before the main series and partially during the main series. So we'll see how that goes. And for the rest, it's all just fun to write and to be able to enjoy the fun of Tergaenae and how shall I say that? The fun of Tergaenae, the characters, the stories that I found in Tergaenae, the stories that I will no doubt discover in the future in Tergaenae. It's just such a pleasure to be able to do that. So today, I'm going to work some more in Go Fly, and I wish you all a lot of fun with our creative session of today. And let me know what you are working on in the chat or in the comments below. And if you are looking for a place to find sparring partners or to just talk about ideas, feel free to join the fantasy Discord. It would be handy if I start a specific thing, because otherwise that command won't do a thing. So my apologies, give me a moment. Okay, so let's try that again. I'm sorry. Sometimes you think you've done it all, and then you missed something. Yes, there it is. So I wish you all a lot of fun, and feel free to join the Discord. The link is now also in the chat, and it's in the description box. So I'll see you in 60 minutes again. Let me get the timer. Yes, there we are. And let's start. And that is the end. Hey, that's better. That's the end of our creative session of today. Let's end the timer. There we go. How did it go for you guys? I have to say, it went okay. I'll get into that in a later moment. But first, I want to check in with you all. Because lots of people have joined the stream. Thank you all for joining. Good morning, Tish. You said you are here to grab, going to grab something quick to eat and refill on the coffee and write. Let us know what you are working on right now. I'm very curious. And for those who don't know Tish, I'm sorry, my mouse is not completely cooperating today. For those of you who don't know Tish, check out the link. It's in the chat and it's also in the description box below. So check out her channel. And also, if you are into cozy mysteries, check out the book she released earlier this year. And Andy, welcome in. You're popping in to say hi and to boop the like button. Thank you so much. And also, for those who don't know, Andy, here's the link to Andy's YouTube channel, and go check it out for all tips about publishing. Tish says good morning to Andy, and she missed you. You were and Tish was cooking breakfast. I hope it was a great breakfast. I hope you enjoyed it. And Jenny, welcome in. And Jenny, you said you were trying to finish chapter 14 of your book this morning, and it's going good. You just haven't had a lot of time this week. Lots of marketing instead. And you say thank you. I hope my writing goes well too. Thank you very much. I have to say it's going pretty good. Wait, some things. Yes, there we go. Sometimes things don't quite want to cooperate. And Jenny says hi to everyone. Jenny is from Texas as well, and she's the author of the Pond Investigations mystery series set in San Antonio, Texas. That sounds intriguing as well. Jenny, do you have it linked in your YouTube channel? And then I can put the link in the description as well. Oh no, you don't. Yeah, okay. Because you can't put the link in the description. I will find it later and put the link in the description box or in a pinned comment later on. The Pond Investigations mystery, or just later on put it in the comments. That's fine as well. So yeah, my session went okay. I was still looking for words, but I have found the reason why the bad guys are supposed to get Nejat back to his home country, back to his former family. And we'll see if Nejat believes that or not, and what he will do in return. I mean, that's always the question, right? It's how shall I say that? I mean, they've been separated for several years, so why should he return right now? At least he has someone with him to discuss these things. And this someone is Prince Zan, or Prince Adejun, I should say. Adejun, my apologies. And he is a prince in Tualma, and even though he's not a high prince yet, Nejat is talking about these things with him during this particular exchange. So we'll see what the outcome is. Later on, there's a lot going on. I have the end of this chapter in mind already. I know how it's going to end, and from there we'll just see. Well, I know how this chapter is going to end, and I know how the next chapter is going to begin. And that's basically all it right now. And from there I will see, because I roughly know where I want to go and what I need to be done. But it's a journey towards that point. And that's always fun to experience that journey, to discover more about these characters, about this story, and about Tergaenae, because Tergaenae is such a rich world with so many things in it. And I keep discovering things, and that's a lot of fun. Oh, what I forgot to ask, Jenny, can you tell us what your Pond Investigations mystery series is all about, or what the main thread through the series is? I'd love to hear that. And Tish and Andy, how did the writing go for you? How did the session go for you? I have to say, for this story, for Go Fly, I've been working on it for quite a while now, but I don't feel that I am going too slow. Well, yeah, compared to a few years ago, I'm going. If I would take that as a benchmark, then yes, I'm going way too slow. But I'm not using that as a benchmark anymore. Right now, I feel it's going a bit slow, but not, for the way I am right now, not too slow. So that's good. That's good. I'm still looking a bit for words, because sometimes I have this idea, this vision of the scene in front of me, but it's not, how shall I say that? I don't have it in detail yet, and it comes more in detail while I'm writing it. That's quite different than what I have, for example, with the main series. And also in the past I would have the scenes and I would just know instantly how to write it. And I have that more with, or better I should say, also with the main series. And then it's just like, okay, what am I going to include and what not, and what is too much and things like that. So with this story, it works a little bit differently, but that's fine. And Jenny, you say your series is about a psychic private investigator. She doesn't tell people about her ESP and still hasn't met anyone else like herself yet. So she's a skeptical psychic. Interesting. And the first book, Mad Money and Murder, your private investigator finds a body in the San Antonio River during the annual draining. It's a man-made river. Oh, okay. So San Antonio River is a man-made river. And is there, what is the reason that it is being drained annually? Is there a lot of sediment that's going on there and that needs to be removed to make sure that the water keeps flowing, or what? Because I mean, we have the canals here in the Netherlands. Those are usually man-made. And of course we have loads of rivers, and we do drain, well, we don't drain them from water, we drain them, we get the sediment out where needed, but usually we don't drain canals and rivers unless there needs to be work done in one way or another. And Jenny say the second book, Death is in the Cards. Your private investigator has been asked to run a fortune teller booth for a fundraiser. Oh, and she has a vision of a young man's murder while doing that. Well, that's a complication, I imagine. I mean, if she is asked to run a fortune teller booth with her investigation skills, I can see options. I can see opportunities for her for work in one way or another, depending on what she sees with the clients who visit her booth. But if you get such a vision as an investigator, I can imagine that you instantly want to go and research that and see what's going on. Tish, you finished eating, you're back. Welcome back. And saying hi to Jenny. Jenny say the river was designed in the 1920s to help with flooding in San Antonio whenever it rains. Okay. And they drain them to clean the water and do repairs each year. Ah, that way. Okay, that's interesting. And draining, does that also really mean getting rid of all the water, moving it elsewhere? Like I said, that's not quite something we do here in the Netherlands. We are very well experienced in getting the water to the sea. That's if you don't know, the Netherlands has experienced a flood, a big flood, in 1953. In Dutch, it's called the watersnoodramp, and it was a real disaster, a real water disaster. And after that, many people lost their lives and livelihoods and houses and things like that. So after that, the barriers were designed, and the dikes and things like that. So we are very good at getting the water out to sea. That also brings a risk, we found. Several years ago, we had a real drought here in the Netherlands. We hadn't had any rain from, what was it, I think March or even February till, I think, late October. So it was a really bad drought. And what happens with dikes if they don't get any water? They can actually break. And yeah, that happened here in the Netherlands. So we were very good at getting the water out, but having the consequences of a drought and that effect on the waterworks, that was a whole different challenge. So yeah, that's something that we need to learn to deal with, and waterworks need to be adjusted in some way in the future. And Jenny, you say there's a whole lock system in the river. It's taken away, filtered and returned after the concrete riverbed has been cleaned and repaired. Ah, that way. Okay, that's interesting. So the water is also being cleaned from pollution, sediment, that sort of thing, and then returned once the riverbed has been cleaned and repaired. That sounds great. And so what exactly, I can imagine that you have that riverbed there to get rid of excess rain, but why do you keep it there in other cases? Let me put it that way. Jenny say droughts are common in Texas. You've had water shortages because of a lack of rain. Okay. And the water has leaves, grass, etc., so they are getting rid of that. But leaves and grass can also help with cleaning the water, right? So are there also things like fish or other animals in the water, and how do they deal with that? I know here in the Netherlands we have the small streams and things like that, and those are cleaned of excess plants to make sure that the water can still flow. But they usually do that in autumn, also to get rid of the reeds so that things can grow back the year after. And they do that in the autumn because at that time the fowls and frogs and things like that won't be in those streams anymore. So they won't endanger them. And I always like that because that way the animals are still protected while also the water can go where it needs to go. Jenny, you say it's a tourist attraction now. Hotels and restaurants have built along the river walk. No fish, lots of ducks. And they love to float on the water. And there are riverboat rides for tourists. Oh, well, excellent. That's great to hear. I mean, if you can make such a thing a tourist attraction, that's the best way, because it will help get people there and bring more to the economy of the area. So that's great to hear. And Jenny is saying the lock system allows them to do a section at a time. That's great. Well, here in the Netherlands, we don't need to do that. Well, we don't need to clean the water because it's usually just the rivers, the streams, and where the canals are. Those are oftentimes also part of old rivers. So we don't have a concrete bedding or sorts. It's just they have excavated, digged it, dug it, something like that. So they dug it and they put it's not concrete. It's a kind of metal that doesn't deteriorate, and they put it in the walls. And then the water can easily flow. And those canals are usually used by smaller container ships to bring goods from the big harbors like Rotterdam inland and, for example, to Germany. Those canals and the big rivers are used to transport goods to other countries as well, and from other countries to Rotterdam, for example. Rotterdam is the biggest transport harbor here in the Netherlands. So yeah, it's aimed at that. And the fun part is it's a little bit of an inspiration for me for Dragon City, because Dragon City in Tergaenae is built inside a humongous cave. And that cave is inspired by the Han Son Doon cave in Vietnam. That's so big. If I'm correct, the highest point is about 200 meters high, and it's quite wide as well, and it's also quite long. But Dragon City is very long. It's about 30 kilometers long. I think that's about 50 land miles, but I don't know. And it's several kilometers wide as well. I think I designed it to be at the widest point something like 15 kilometers or something. I mean, that might not be entirely natural, but in the past the deities have helped, so that's all part of it. But the cave also has a river flowing through it, and several islands, so to speak. And on those islands and on the riverbeds, or the riversides, I should say, the housing and other facilities have been built where people live. And for example, the aeries for the dragons and for the dragon companions, and more things. They've all been built in the caves throughout the thousands of years that Dragon City exists, and that river flows through there as well. But with Dragon Cave being so long, you also need a transportation system. So I was inspired by the old way of how container ships, or back then they were called barges. They were just riverboats. Well, riverboats specifically for goods, for sand and other things, and other things that needed to be transported. So I used that inspiration to have a similar thing in Dragon City. So yeah, it's a piece of my home country's history that I included in Dragon City, and it's fun to do that, to be able to do that. And Jenny is saying they use the St. Lawrence River in Canada the same way. A lock system was designed to help large container ships to move further into Canada to make deliveries. Yeah, it's something that's used all over the world by now, I think. I mean, the Panama Canal is in a way used that way as well, I think. And yeah, I mean, I know I've experienced that in France as well. You have the rivers and the canals and sluices and things you go through, or a lock system you go through with a boat, or with a small boat, with a pleasure boat, to travel to other villages and towns that are next to the river. So it's just, there are so many ways to travel, and so many things have existed for centuries already, and they may not be the fastest way to travel, but at the same time, if you are on a holiday, that's fine. But for example, container ships that bring, or barges as we call them here in the Netherlands, the ships that are traveling inland, I mean, they transport goods like sand and things like oil and things like that. Those are not the easiest to transport over land. Well, oil, yeah, sure, you have to tank trucks, but loads of things can far more easily be transported by water than over the road. So yeah, it's a fun thing. And then you say, how fun, a nice combination of the Netherlands history and my fictional story. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's, you know, that adagium, whatever you want to say, however you call it. You should write about what you know. Well, I don't quite. I'm not one who says that you should take that literally. I mean, if we were to take that literally, then there would be no fantasy stories, especially no fantasy stories that are set in the second world. Because how would you write about things you know when it's the second world? So what I always say, write about what you know, also translates to write about what you want to know. And of course, in the second world, it's your world and you know all about it. Or you discover all about it. And you use experiences from your everyday life, but also from history, and in this case, indeed, the Dutch history of the riverboats and things like that. And in a way, the merchant state of mind, is that a way to describe it? I think so. The Netherlands, the Dutch were very good international merchants, several centuries ago. And there's the VOC. I have to admit that I don't know the English translation of that. It's how is it called? The Verenigde Oost-Indische Compagnie. It's a united organization that was linked to Asia also, For example, they've been in Indonesia, they've had contacts with Japan, I think also, somewhat with China. I think that's about it. But also the other way around. And that was, I mean, it was a really, they were really good at that, and it's something I want to include, and you will find more of it, for example, in the Confectioner series, because that is far more related to trade, to merchants. So that will be quite different from the main Tergaenae series. But yeah, we'll see about that. Jenny, say your opinion exactly. No one would write anything fictional if we would only write what we know. Right? I mean, that's so. It was such a weird thing to hear for me, and I was like, but how can I write a fictional story if I can only write what I know? So I'll just write about what I want to know. That's far more logical, and I'll just research it. So yeah, I recognize that. Yeah. No, the Silk Road. No, not the Silk Road. The Silk Road was mainly overland, and the VOC was a waterbound, mainly waterbound, I think, if I'm correct. Mainly a waterbound organization. There were large ships and things like that. I think the Silk Road was more how do you say that? A cooperation between some Italian guys, Marco Polo, I want to say, not 100% sure about that, but I think he was involved with it, and Chinese merchants, the Chinese emperor also, I believe, if I'm correct about that. But there was something else. I don't think the VOC had anything to do with that. Let me get the correct translation, because right now I want to know. The Dutch East India Company, that's it. Commonly known as the Dutch East India Company, was a chartered trading company and one of the first joint stock companies in the world. There you have it. And here's the information on Wikipedia. Let me put that into the chat for you all. There it is. And it was granted a 21-year monopoly to carry out trade activities in Asia. And shares in the company could be purchased by any citizen of the Dutch Republic. Okay, let's see. I think that's about it. Yeah, it was with spices and things like that. Yeah, just read through it. It's a lot to read through, I see. They had to do with the spice trade, the Cape route. The Cape route was, I think, for is a shipping route from the European coast of the Atlantic Ocean to Asia's coast of the Indian Ocean, passing by the Cape of Good Hope and Cape Agulhas at the southern edge of Africa. So they've been there as well. So it's quite a trade company. I can't find words at the moment. Jenny say, wow, that's cool. Yeah, it is. And here's the link for those of you who would love to research it. I will put the link in the description box below later on as well, or in the pinned comments. I'll see about that. And Jenny say, thank you. I love research. I love it too. And sometimes I can really get lost in research. Those are the moments that I really think, okay, you know, I've been researching, but is it something I can actually use, or I mean, if I'm researching something specific for what I need in my story, then it's a different ball game. Like earlier this week, I was looking for information about colors because I needed to know some colors for Zan, one of the characters in the series, or in this short story and in the confectioner series, I should say. So I needed to. I was looking for a certain combination of colors, and I found a good combination. But I wanted to know more about the colors, so I did some research on that and found that it was interesting. But I've also done research of what I thought afterwards. I think I don't quite need it. But you know, it's research and it's always fun to have that. And it's just that little tidbit of knowledge that you have right then. And it's never, how shall I say that? It's never useless. It's just that you might not use it in your story at that moment. It might come up later. You might use a very tiny detail of all that research that you did, and it might just be stuff for conversation later on with other authors or family, friends. So yeah, it's never something that's useless, at least in my experience and in my opinion. So yes, I think that's about it for today. I've it's been good. And Jenny said, yes, the trick is to use your research without using too much and distracting from your story. Exactly. I mean, I researched silk because of one of my empires is called Silk and Bamboo Empire. And I researched silk and I found there were all kinds of silk. I had no idea about that. And all kinds of original materials that will turn into silk, or that are processed into silk, I should say. I had no idea about that. In the end, I mean, silk is just one of the products that clothing is made of. In Silk and Bamboo and in Tergaenae. But I used that information to create a festival that centers around silk. But it's just, I mean, one of my characters has attended such a festival in the past. She might in the future, I don't know yet. She might refer to that festival. Other characters might refer to that festival. But it's such a detail, and on the scope of the whole story, it's just such a minor detail. But at the same time, it is important to have that background information and to make sure that it fits your world. And that's the most important thing. If you're researching something and you decided to use it in your world, make sure that it actually fits your world. Like, I came up with the idea to use the bamboo flame sticks that I'd seen in Asian TV series, specifically in Chinese TV series. And I know I can use them because Silk and Bamboo Archipelago has loads of bamboo. There can be bamboo found around Dragon City as well. So bamboo is one of the important things in Tergaenae. And those original ancient Chinese flame sticks are made of bamboo. So that was like, okay, you know what? I can actually use that, and I don't need to adjust a lot. I can just use it. But if you were to write a story that is set in medieval Europe, then such a bamboo flame stick would not be logical, because they wouldn't know about that. They would have a tinderbox. That's something different. But having such a bamboo flame stick, they wouldn't know what to do with it. They wouldn't know it. So it wouldn't be logical to have it unless it was somehow introduced by someone there, but it would not quite be logical. And that is what I think is important to keep in mind. And Jenny say research can help make or break a story. Exactly. And I mean, you're absolutely right about that. For Dragon City, for example, I found that the Hansong Dune cave actually has its own weather system in a way. It has clouds forming in the cave. I mean, can you imagine that? You're in a cave, and that cave is so big that it actually has clouds forming in that cave, and there's a bit of rain in the cave because of that weather forming. So yeah, that's going to be that's part of Dragon City as well. And I needed to carefully think about that, because the dragons live in the cave as well. So I need ways to have them go out. And I also wanted locations where people will have a view outside, instead of only being trapped, if you want to call it that way, in that cave. So it's something that you need to think about, something that you need to figure out. But also, what is it like to live in that cave? What is it like? I mean, is it damp and cold, or is it damp and warm? Dragon City is close to the equator in Tergaenae, and it is a warm area, so it would be logical if the cave is damp and warm. It wouldn't be logical if it were like the caves that we have here in the Netherlands and in Belgium, where the caves are cold and damp. So yeah, that makes it so different. Jenny, you ask what's the name of this cave again. Let me get you the exact name, because I tend to pronounce it wrong every now and then. Anson Dune Cave, Vietnam. There we have it. In Vietnam. This is the exact name, the Hang Son Doong Cave in Vietnam, and it's incredible, and it was so inspirational. Originally, when I started with the Tergaenae Chronicles, way back when it was called the Dragon Rider Seer, so that the Dragon Rider has evolved into a Dragon Companion. That's one of the big changes. It's one of the big developments. Let me put it that way. But originally, I knew I wanted to write a story that had dragons in it, and mages, particularly seers. So mages with a sight, magical people with a sight, and dragon riders. And I didn't want to limit the amount of dragons. I mean, you see that often in stories with dragons. There's just one or just two dragons, because they have died and they were almost extinct and things like that. That's not the case in Tergaenae. But I was wondering, like, but how do I do that here on Earth? It's not possible. I mean, how do I make it? Here on Earth, we already have problems with feeding our complete humanity. So all of our people. So how on earth are we also going to make sure that dragons have enough to eat and enough place to live? And then I found the Hangson Dune Cave, and I was like, okay, ideas are starting to form. Now I can imagine things, and I blew it up because it's in Tergaenae, it's bigger than the original Hangson Dune cave. But you know that's the beauty of it. That's what you can do. And Jenny is saying, well, it practically begs for a story, not to mention dragons. Right, I found that and I was like, yes, that's the perfect location to have the main seed of the dragon companions, and from where they all spread to the rest of the world. And it was so incredible. And I've seen footage and photos of specific locations there, and there is a location where you have these rings, these stacked rings. They look like stacked rings, let me put it that way. And that is actually something I'm using in Dragon City. That is a location in Dragon City. And there are more locations. I have the bazaar, which is up really high, and there's a specific wall, so to speak, in the Hangson Dune Cave, and that is really spectacular if you see that. And that is what I use as a vista point. And the bazaar is built on top of that wall, on top of the part of the mountain of that wall, and you can now I have to say it correctly. It looks out, the vista point from the bazaar looks out at that wall, and and behind that wall is a large part of Dragon City, and there are more things like that I have incorporated in Dragon City, because it was just incredible. I have also incorporated, for example, specific wells, specific spas, and those are at the end of Dragon City when you basically go out, and you, if you keep on going, then you will end up in the waterfalls that go down into the sea. So yeah, it's such an incredible place. The Hangson Dune Cave. It was such an incredible inspiration, and then when I found that's when it really started to come alive for me, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna place it in Earth. I'm going to make my own world, and the Hangson Dune Cave is the inspiration for that, and everything is basically built around that. And then later on, last year, the year before that, last year or early this year, I found Bora Bora, and I was like, okay, I just found the perfect archipelago for silk and bamboo. Let me show you Bora Bora, a photo of Bora Bora. Let me see if I can get the link to that, because it is so incredible. Let me see if I can find a link to the photo, to the aerial photo. Wait, Bora Bora aerial overview. Yeah, here we have it. That's it. Okay, so this is oh, that was not what I was looking for. Okay. I think this is, yeah, you have got loads of photos here. There are loads of photos of Bora Bora on this link, and It's so incredible. And this is really, for me, what the Silk and Bamboo archipelago partially looks like. The Silk and Bamboo archipelago is inside the outer reefs that are in Bora Bora is protected by the outer reefs, and Silk and Bamboo has the same, but it is on a much larger scale. So it has many more islands inside that protective reef, and it's incredible. And I'll show you something else that is also an inspiration for me. And that is the underwater waterfall of Mauritius. That is so incredible. I mean, it's yeah, this is a good view. This one. It's really, if you have that, if you have an aerial view of that, it really looks like a waterfall going down underwater. So that's incredible. Jenny, you say beautiful. It doesn't look like it should be here. You can see why I was so inspired. Yeah, it's almost out of this world. And the same goes for the other waterfall on Mauritius. It's just out of this world. And for me, this location is the perfect location of the abyss that is between the White City and Greyhaven, before the big divide that happens about 1,000 years ago, before the main story of Tergaenae Chronicles begins. There was a big divide, and that started to split up all kinds of continents until it was stopped by the deities. But it tore Nejat from what is now called Nejat from the larger continent it was a part of, and between Nejat and this other continent is now the abyss. But it tore apart the original Whitehaven, so to speak, into the White City and Greyhaven, and they are on opposite sides of this waterfall. And I was like, this is the perfect location for such a thing, because it was magic that tore apart these continents. And Nejat is very known for its very strong magic there. And magic is a very big part of Tergaenae. It's also something that commoners who don't have magic at all can get kids who are magical, because magic chooses the person when they are born, or even before they are born. So that is so important. And if you see such things like this waterfall in Mauritius, it's just so incredible, and that really screamed to me, this is magic. And it was such an amazing inspiration for me. And that's what I love, when you find those kind of things. When you're doing research and when you are looking for locations that could be a model for your locations, and that's also a kind of magic that you find in yourself, because you're looking for something and you need to feel a connection with what you find, with the results that are presented to you. And if you don't have that connection, then you have to keep on searching. But if you find that connection, then things click inside of you, and you find the, how shall I say that? You find what you're looking for, the environment, the location, what things look like, but also how people can feel about it. For example, the abyss between Greyhaven and the White City, it is something that only very highly specialized sailors will traverse, because it is a scary thing to go over that. Because of course, I mean, in Mauritius, well, I haven't been there, so I can only just see it on images and on videos. But I can imagine if you just sail over there, you will see the depth of it. But in Tergaenae, you will also feel the magic of it, and it might draw you in. So you have a risk of being drawn into that magical waterfall, and that of course wouldn't be good. Let's put it that way. That would be, let's just say, a challenge. And that if you have those kind of things, that's just incredible. And I love that you can feel such a connection with what you find, and with how that can influence your world and your characters, and the events that happen in your world, and the events that your characters are facing, but also that are in their past. Like, for example, the Big Divide is a very important event that happened, and it is still, how shall I say that? It is still something that is remembered every year. There's so much going on around that event. And of course, places like that abyss and other places are places that might be part of worship, but also part of fear. So yeah. And Jenny, you say, absolutely, you totally agree. It's like your main character's name. You knew her full name was Elizabeth, and she'd go by Liz, and you knew her middle name was going to be Susan, and then you knew her last name had to start with a P, so her initials are ESP. That's perfect. I mean, when you find that perfect name, my apologies, I have an itch in my nose. When you find that perfect name, that also is like that click that you find. I had that with Nejat and Nejat. I was watching, I've seen Turkish series, and I found those names in those Turkish series, and I was like, yeah, those are perfect, and those are what I was looking for. I mean, I also have just pure coincidental names. Like, I find the name Seamys when I was looking for a specific thing, for a specific name for one of the 3 princes of Dragon City, and I kept writing that name wrong. I kept using the Y instead of the U. So in the end, I just decided, you know what? I keep writing it wrong. That's my brain telling me that it's not Seamus, but Seamys. And yes, I expect that people will tell me that it is wrong, but no, it's a very conscious decision to have it that way, to have it written that way. The same is for, or a different way is for Finlay. I kept writing finally wrong. And at some point, I saw what I had written and I was like, you know what, that's actually just a good name. I can use that. And then I started looking up what the name, if the name was in use, if it was actually a name. And then I found it's actually a name. It's an Irish name, I think. So I was like, okay, I'll use it. And it's things like that I just, you find it, and your brain, your subconscious tells you this is what you need right now, and this is what you can work with, and I love that. And Jenny, you say it's a fictional world, you're allowed to make up things. Exactly. Yeah, that's the fun part of it, and that's That's why I love writing fantasy, especially in a second world, in an original world, because I can make up everything. I've made a concept of a creature, and it's called the flutter nymph. And I've had that concept for several years already, and she's a very important. The flutter nymphs are very important in Tergaenae, together with the dragons and the small folk and other people that I can't really tell you guys about. Well, the lost children, but they have a representative. Let me put it that way. But the flutter nymphs and the dragons and the small folk were also there when the big divide happened. And the flutter nymphs, they fit in the palm of your hand. And at some point I was like, okay, you know, I also have a character, and one of the flutter nymphs also plays an important role in the main series. And even though I didn't think the flutter nymphs would play a role in my current short story, they popped up and decided to play a role. So, okay, not this particular flutter nymph, but one of the flutter nymphs. And because this particular flutter nymph that plays an important role in the main series, I decided, you know what? I'm asking a friend of mine to make artwork for her. So that's something I will present later when it's finished. I can't show it yet. My friend is still working on that, and he is an amazing artist. So I know that his artwork will be incredible. And when it's finished and when I can show it, I will also explain the background of the flutter nymph and how I came up with the design. Jenny, you said you love that name. Thank you. It's something that I talked about with my sparring partner, with Dida, and she gave me that name, and it just fit perfectly. Originally I had a variation or something. I had a different thing in mind, but a different name in mind, but it didn't quite fit. And she came up with that based on my description. She thought, you know, it makes me think of this, and some text that I wrote was like, you know, can you combine that? and so the flutter nymph was born, and it's such a fun creature. And this particular one of the flutter nymphs has become a character in the series. She's called Riri, and it's just such a fun creature. And there is so much background in that creature, in that species, and it's just fantastic. So I will talk about that a lot when the artwork is done. This is I'm not planning to make loads of artwork for my series before I've published any books, but this was one of which I said, you know what, it's something I have envisioned. It's a creature I have envisioned for such a long time. This particular character is such an important part of the series that she really deserves it. Yes, Jenny, that is actually the perfect name. Well, you have to put a space between flutter and nymph, but yeah, it's spelled correctly. Further, yeah, and it's when you can create creatures like that. I mean, you don't need to create all kinds of original creatures for your fantasy series. There are so many incredible living creatures here on Earth that you can use. Another creature that I use is the axolotl. I've given it another name in Tergaenae Chronicles because I have basically blown up the creature. So I needed it to be a lot bigger. But so that's why I gave it another name. But yeah, it's basically the axolotl, which is a Mexican a Mexican creature. And it's It's incredible. I love it. It has this. Let me look it up for you, because it's such a fun creature also to see it. And I was like, you know, it almost feels like a magical creature when you see that. So why wouldn't I use it in my world? So let me look it up for you. Yeah, here's a perfect one, a perfect image. Oh, I got it open here. That one. And Tissue say that I like that living creatures on Earth to use. Exactly. I mean, there are so many creatures on Earth, and not only land creatures and aerial creatures, but also creatures in the water that you can use in your fantasy stories that you don't need to make up. They are just there to use, even if they are hardly known or lesser known. I mean, why wouldn't we use them? So this axolotl, it was just, I saw that the first time and I was like, okay, I can see that and I'd love to use it, but I have no idea, so I'll just park it and I'll see if I can find some use for it. And then I was writing a scene that played in Dragon City, and all of a sudden the axolotl popped up and I was like, yep, perfect. And now I know how I can use it. Excellent. And it's, I mean, it's a fantasy creature if you just see it. And it's an old species. I mean, it's incredible and I love it. And Jenny, you say axolotls are fascinating. You got to see a bunch of them at the Dallas Aquarium this summer. I have never seen an axolotl in an aquarium or whatever. Oh, for those who wanted to check, it's the link to the image that I showed is also in the chat. Tish, that you say that's what you were thinking of the creatures in the water. Excellent. And Jenny, you say they are adorable in their pictures, and then you find out they are carnivorous, and as someone told me, self-cannibalistic. They'll eat a limb that has come off. It's incredible, right? And it's so weird and perfect for fantasy worlds. And Tish, you say they are so cute. It reminds you of Pokemon who are based on earthly creatures, especially the water Pokemons. Yes, I mean, Earth is so rich in creatures and so rich in, well, everything. The creatures, plants, you name it, you can use it. And you don't need to make up all kinds of creatures. I mean, yes, the Flutter Nymph is completely made up. It's inspired by several creatures here on Earth. Like I said, I will go into that when the artwork is done, and then I will make a video about it to explain how I designed it and also explain all about the Flutter Nymph, how they live and how their behavior is and things like that. Just because I love the Flutter Nymphs. And it feels like you also pay tribute to these creatures in a way if you can use them in your stories. And that's what I love about them. I mean, horses are very well known. I mean, I think everyone knows what a horse looks like. Axolotls, on the other hand, completely different. It's a whole different ballgame. And there are fish and other creatures that are blind and that are colorless because they live in a cave that doesn't see daylight. There are creatures that can walk on walls, literally, the geckos. I have a few of the dragons in Tergaenae are inspired by the gecko. The colors of them are inspired by the geckos. I have one dragon species which is inspired by the tropical kingfisher, the tropical wyvern, the logo of or the idea, I should say, not the logo, the idea of Kingfisher Wyvern Studio. That is my studio that is not quite functioning at the moment, but the idea behind the Kingfisher Wyvern is inspired by the kingfisher, which is a creature that lives at the edge of the waters and that feeds on fish. So it's regarded as a basically as a wyvern. Well, basically it's regarded as an aerial creature that also can live in the water. Well, it can't really live in the water, but it lives off the water. But you get my point. And wyverns are seen as fantasy creatures that are both aerial and have to do also with the water and with land. So that is how I came to Kingfisher Wyvern, because I just combined those. And there are Nejat's dragon, for example, is inspired by the tropical kingfisher. The colors of Nejat's dragon are the tropical kingfisher has such lively, vibrant colors, and so I was inspired by that. And that's just using living creatures here on Earth. I also have creatures that are inspired by megafauna from millions of years ago. A familiar from Nejat, another character of mine, is a turtle, a sea turtle, but it is a giant sea turtle. Now at the moment I'm lost at the name of that megafauna turtle. It has a specific name, and the name of this turtle character is based on that name, but right now I've lost it. But I mean, you don't need to look far to get the inspiration for all those kinds of things. So it's incredible. Did you say, yeah, that's true? Yeah, I mean, Earth is rich in things that can inspire you for fantasy worlds, and that is the best tip I can give to authors who want to dive into creating their own worlds. Look at Earth, start there and see what you can use. And I mean, like the axolotl, I mean, you can see that this is in an aquarium, the photo that I linked earlier, and it has this flower terracotta pot, and I mean, I think they are a max of 15 centimeters, maybe bigger. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, they can't draw a boat. They can pull a boat, not draw, pull. But in Tergaenae they can, because I just blew them up. They are really big. And I used the way that they act and the way that the sounds that they make. They don't make many sounds. But also those gills that they have, I've used that for the magic that their companions use. So there's so much that you can use with real life creatures here on Earth. So start there, and you can always make fantastical creatures that are absolutely not based on anything. But you can start with Earth creatures. You don't need to skip them. And Tishu say there are creatures that have been recently discovered, Bumpy or Vanderhorstia Super Saiyan snailfish that resembles Super Saiyan from Dragon Ball Z. Oh, really? Incredible! I mean, it's so how should I say that? Let me see if I can find what you are. Okay, so the Vanderhorstia Super Saiyan let me see if I can find it. So that we have a okay, I see a lot. Okay, Tish, I'm gonna paste the link of what I found, and maybe you can paste, because you should be able to paste links. Maybe you can use one of those pictures. You can link one of those pictures that you find on the link I just posted to see to show us which exactly is the one that inspired the Dragon Ball's Super Saiyan. You said you learned that from kids. It's so incredible. Jenny, you say that's so fun. You love that discoveries like that are still being made. Yeah, I mean, it is so incredible. And we find so many things also deep in the oceans. And I will give you one hint. The flutter nymph is inspired by a creature that you can find in the ocean. That's all I will say about it right now. Hey, welcome back, Shannon. Great to see you again. Yeah, this was the link that I posted earlier. Shannon, you say you just woke up, you got coffee and fed the kid. Excellent, excellent. I hope you've had breakfast as well. Well, if you eat breakfast, I know not everyone has breakfast all the time. I really can't live without breakfast. I might skip dinner. I know that's not good, but by the time it's dinner, nowadays I'm not always that hungry. It's not good. I know that. Jenny, you say hi to Shannon as well as Tish, and Shannon says hi to everyone as well. And you say you don't eat breakfast, it makes you queasy too early in the day. Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting, because if I don't have breakfast, my body will really get queasy, and if I go too long without food in the morning, then I will get a headache and things like that. So it works. It works really different for me. You like breakfast for later in the day, though. Oh, okay. So kind of like brunch, or is it earlier than lunch? I mean, when I still worked as a cleaner, as an interior cleaner, I started my day at my job at 6 a.m. So I was up by I don't know, 4:30, 5 p.m. And I had a very physical intensive job, labor intensive, physical intensive job. So I knew I needed that breakfast, and it was just simple, a bowl of yogurt with bananas. But I needed that breakfast to make sure that I could keep on going during the morning. So yeah, for me, it's really something I really need. I can't go without breakfast. The moment that I don't eat breakfast after I got up, then I'm not feeling well. Those are the days that my stomach is playing up and I'm not feeling well, and then I might eat lunch, or I might not eat at all, depending on how my stomach feels. And Shannon, you say your mom is the same with getting queasy with food too early in the day, so it must be a genetic thing. Possibly, yeah. I mean, it's incredible how things can work for us, and the things we inherit from our parents genetically, and it's sometimes also bizarre. I mean, if I look at myself, I've got loads and loads of allergies, and I know that I've got some things from my mother and loads of other things from my father. And it's bizarre, because it's also sort of one of the reasons I don't have kids, because I knew at a very early age, I was 15 or 16, I knew that it was hereditary. And that's when I already started to think, like, okay, can I do that to a child knowingly when I'm still struggling with it? So yeah, that's been playing a part of me, been playing a role for a great part of my life. Yeah. Jenny say this has been a lot of fun. You'll be sure to join again. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you very much, and it was fun having you here as well. See you next time. And Shannon says, bye Jenny, have a great day. And thanks Shannon, you too. Well, it has been a very fun talking about world building, creatures, and all things like that. But it's almost 4 p.m. Wow, that's long. I didn't expect that. I have to do some grocery shopping before the shops are closed. I need to get some food for tonight if I decide to eat, to have dinner. But yeah, I need to get some groceries for that. And Tisha say, talk to you later, Jenny. Thank you all for joining. Shannon, you say it's almost 9 a.m. here where you live. Oh, that's incredible. I mean, it's 4 p.m. Well, close to 4 p.m. And I mean, it's already starting to get a bit twilight-ish. It's still gray outside, but I know that in an hour that it's going to be pretty dark already. Shannon, you say a big time difference. Yeah, exactly. And Tisha say it's been a good sprint and informative. Thank you, Ilse. You're welcome, and thank you very much for joining. And Shannon, you said thanks for the short talk and great start of the day. Thank you, thank you. I will be here tomorrow again. I don't know yet what time exactly, because I know there's a Formula 1 race, the closing race of the year, and I need to check with a friend of mine at what time we're going to watch it, because it started 2 p.m. Dutch time. All that would crash with my live stream time. So if we watch it later on, then I will have my live stream at the regular 1:30 p.m. Which is 6:30 a.m. I think for you guys. And otherwise, I will probably do it later at the day, maybe 2, 4, and then it will be probably in my evening time. But I'll let you guys know today at what time I will do my live stream tomorrow, and I will be live streaming throughout the whole month of December. And Shannon, I still need to check with the event from, what is it, 26th to 28th? Am I right about that? I wanted to see if I can do something the 27th or the 28th. I'll see about that. And Tisha say have a good day, Shannon. And Shannon, you wish the same. And Tisha sounds good. Perfect. I wish you all a wonderful day, and I'm going to do some grocery shopping. Bye bye.